So good afternoon. Our death tolls has risen, as you probably might suspect. The number now we're reporting is 72. Number of missing, we're looking at over 200. To the people of Buncombe County, you are the heart of everything we do. We know these are hard times, but please know we're coming to get you. We're coming to pick up our people that's out there. Your safety and well-being are our highest priority, and we will not rest until you are secure and that you are being cared for. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all our state and local partners who are standing with us. Your dedication helps us serve our community when it matters most. We also deeply grateful to the national partners, especially the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, for the steadfast support. Your assistance has been crucial, and we are stronger because of your efforts. I promise to you that we will continue to answer every call. We will respond to every need and protect every corner of Buncombe County. We're in this together, and we will not stop until our community is safe. It's times like these that we are reminded of one Buncombe and how we stand together, the community of we. And I just thank you guys for standing with us. And as long as we're together, we will overcome this. So thank you.
Next up, we will hear from County Manager Avril Pinder with a Buncombe County update.
Good afternoon. Buncombe County has launched the One Buncombe Call Center, where you can report your storm damage, access resources, and find storm-related information. This call center is called the One Buncombe Call Center, and the number is 828-250-1600. Again, that call center is 828-250-1600. And at that number, you can report your storm damage, access resources, and find other storm-related information. Waysboro will be running when they can on their Friday routes in the Weaverville area. So just the Friday routes, which is in the Weaverville area, Waysboro will be there. And we know that you've been hard hit by the storm. So the trash collection is limited to areas that they can safely access by large trucks. Friday only folks who want to drop off their household trash, please no storm debris, can go to North Buncombe Pool, located at 734 Clark's Chapel Road, Weaverville, from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. Again, that is 734 Clark's Chapel Road in Weaverville from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that is for the Friday only trash pickup in the Weaverville area. The Waysboro trucks that were at the Fletcher area Ingalls today have left, and they will not be there tomorrow. You can always take your trash to the Buncombe County landfill at 85 Panther Branch Road in Alexandria. They will be open tomorrow, as well as 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday. North Asheville Library now has Wi-Fi available. You can access that with the password read more, all one word, read more, all lowercase. Other libraries that have Wi-Fi access are PAC, Anchor Candler, and West, using the same password, read more, all lowercase. MedVet in Asheville, an emergency and specialty veterinary hospital, will be opening starting Friday, October the 4th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and will be open those hours every day. Again, that is MedVac in Asheville. They're located at 677 Brevard Road, Asheville. We've had some questions about hazardous materials. That request has now gone through to the State Emergency Operations to request testing. We know that with clear skies, we want to get out and help with cleanup, but please continue to avoid the river as it is still filled with dangerous debris. Questions about toxic hazardous materials along the river, we have submitted a request through the State Emergency Operations about hazmat concerns. We have an update from Weaverville. They have set up a warehouse. Pardon? I'm sorry. Continuing on to the Buncombe County update. We have set up a warehouse at 6 Commerce Way in Arden to receive hurricane relief supplies. We can receive donations from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. daily, and any size vehicle is welcome. Again, that is 6 Commerce Way in Arden. We have 7 categories of things that we can accept. They include non-perishable, ready-to-eat food, bottled water, cleaning supplies, paper goods like toilet paper, baby supplies like formula, pet supplies, and personal care. We cannot accept baby food, glass items, furniture, clothing, perishable foods, electronics, and flammable liquids. I want to repeat that because I know everyone is trying to help, but there's some things we just cannot accept and repurpose. So that's baby food, glass items, furniture, clothing, perishable foods, electronics, and flammable liquids. We will not distribute from this location. These donations will go to the community partners to distribute. So please do not come here to receive supplies. This is just for drop off for donations. Also, an update from Mountain Mobility. As long as patients are accessible, Mountain Mobility is resuming life-sustaining dialysis transport in coordination with dialysis centers. This will also help open up our hospital beds. So again, Mountain Mobility, as long as patients are accessible, they will resume transporting people to dialysis. The Buncombe County Permits Office has taken permit applications to electrical supply companies that are open. So we've taken them out to any company that is open that can start doing those electrical work. Additionally, if you're able to get to the permits office at 30 Valley Street, it is open for permitting Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you have access to the internet, we are accepting electronic permit applications at our development portal. And you can access that by going to buncombecounty.org/permits. buncombecounty.org/permits. Permits are being issued. However, please take note. If you are in the special flood hazard area, you will have additional requirements specific to your project. It is recommended that you check regulations before you start rebuilding. Please, that is very important. Please check regulations before you start rebuilding. Find the special flood hazard area and requirements for specific projects at buncombecounty.org/governance/departments. You're looking for the planning department and floodplain specifically. So you go to buncombecounty.org and you go to governing, departments, and planning. The Town of Weaverville provided the following updates. Weaverville Water Plant is back in operation, but a boil water advisory remains. Boil water for at least 1 minute before drinking it. If you cannot boil water, health officials recommend adding 8 drops of bleach to a gallon of water. Water distribution continues at North Bendy Ridge School at 20 Doan Road, Weaverville. Please bring your own containers. Pantry items and bottled water will be distributed at the community center on Friday from 10 until 2. This will be the final day of that distribution. Lunch continues to be served at the First Baptist Church on Main Street. Town garbage collection will resume on October 7th. At 10 a.m. on Friday, Walmart at 25 North Ridge Commons in Weaverville will begin free stations for food, water, and ice. And I would ask Lacey to give us an update on unhoused people in Buncombe County. Okay, we're changing the order just a little bit. I believe we're going to turn to Shannon now from Weaverville before we get to Lacey. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Tuck. I'm the town manager for the town of Woodfin. I'd just like to begin by saying Woodfin Police and Public Works staff began working the minute that Hurricane Helene arrived. Evacuations, water rescues, and other life safety measures were our initial priority. And then once the storm had passed, we transitioned to welfare checks and debris removal so that our town staff and neighbors could check on the welfare of our businesses and our residents. This work is ongoing. For the last couple days, we've been working to establish a regular food and water distribution hub with the help and cooperation of Newbridge Baptist Church located at 199 Elkwood Avenue. Our goal is to receive and redistribute water, food, and other supplies on a daily basis until this immediate crisis is passed. Most of the distribution is occurring between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m., and we hope to continue to refine the schedule and our communications so that residents may have a reliable and predictable source of assistance. A portion of what we receive at Newbridge Baptist Church is also being shuttled to the west side of Woodfin across the French Broad River and is being distributed at Victory Baptist Church located at 80 Olivet Road. This distribution runs a little bit later, usually between 3 and 5 p.m. And again, we hope to keep the schedule, to continue to refine the schedule so it's more regular and consistent. Anyone visiting either distribution center who has special needs should tell a volunteer so that they can relay this information to our administrative staff. Or please stop by Town Hall located at 90 Elk Mountain Road. And once our internet is restored, and along with our phones, anyone with this need can also call Town Hall at 253-4887. We hope that this restoration will occur today, so maybe beginning tomorrow. If you could call that number, and again, that is 253-4887. Also, over these last few days, our public works crews have worked to further clear our roads so that we may resume our normal garbage and recycling collection. We now have cleared the roads well enough to begin our normal collection schedule beginning tomorrow, Friday, October 5th. And today we began working on expanding our welfare checks based on messages from our residents who were concerned about a neighbor that they hadn't seen or knew that was disabled or infirm. If you know anyone in this situation, please consider letting one of our volunteers know or stop by Town Hall or call us again at 253-4887 once the phone system is restored. We know that we have a long road ahead of us, and we ask that you please be patient. Especially our police and public works staff have been working 24, 48, 72 hours, in some cases with little or no break, and I am not exaggerating. If you see them, please consider thanking them. I can't tell you how heroic many of them have been in this very difficult, trying time. Probably the most common question we receive is, when will our water be restored? Although the Woodfin Water Authority is not part of town government, we work closely with them on serving our community, and I have the following statement from their leadership. As of today, October 3rd, the reservoir is full and turbidity is greatly improved. The purification plant is operating at 100% with essential chemicals in adequate supply and more on the way. Access to the plant has been restored. Crews are hiking the 13-mile main line looking for pipeline breaks. Breaks found so far have been repaired, and once all main breaks are found and repaired, flow will be started to the pump station to refill the tanks. Distribution can then be started into service lines and into homes. Unfortunately, there can be no definitive timeline for when water restoration will occur at this time. It's not included in the statement, but I will say our Woodfin water partners have been doing regular 1 p.m. briefings at Woodfin Elementary School next to Woodfin Town Hall. So any community members who would like a little bit more information or to speak with the folks at Woodfin Water, we'd encourage you to stop by then. In closing, I'd like to express our deep felt and sincere thanks to the Woodfin community and to our area partners. Woodfin is located in Buncombe County, and all the updates and resources that Buncombe County has apply to Woodfin as well. So I'd like to encourage everyone to continue to refer to the county's briefings and web updates for more information. The town's communications have not yet been fully restored, but we are attempting to update information through the Town of Woodfin's Facebook page. Thank you.
For citations purposes, the correct spelling of Shannon's last name is Tuch. And the Facebook page for Woodfin, do you have that available? Facebook.com/Town of Woodfin. Next, we'll hear from Jonathan Knipe with Biltmore Forest. Kanipe.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Mayor and Board of Commissioners, please let me extend my condolences and most sincere sympathy to those who have lost family members, homes, businesses, and so much. There are no words that can adequately convey the depth of loss for so many and that we have all experienced. Please let me also offer my thanks and appreciation for the emergency responders, police, firefighters, and public works employees who have rendered assistance since last week. The emergency management team at Buncombe County has been amazing. The same is true for those leading and working in all local jurisdictions facing this disaster. Thank you to the state emergency management team and federal emergency management for continued assistance. Thank you to Novant Health, who mobilized their emergency response team at the outset of this event. Their assistance to the town has been instrumental in providing services and direct emergency medical assistance for the entire region during this time. And finally, we're very appreciative to our neighbors at Carolina Day School for opening their campus for our emergency water distribution. The town of Biltmore Forest was hit exceptionally hard. Our town is approximately 3 square miles with 1,500 citizens. We're primarily residential and have approximately 675 homes within the town. We're heavily wooded and forested with many large old trees. The wind and rain brought by Helene and the weather system that preceded it brought down an uncountable number of these trees. This was the main source of destruction in our town. We're exceptionally fortunate that, to our knowledge, there was no loss of life in Biltmore Forest. We set up welfare check systems on Sunday afternoon where folks from out of state or other places could send in requests to check on their relatives or friends that live in town. Through yesterday, our police department has conducted over 40 welfare checks, and many of these were done on foot or by bicycle during the early stages of the event. We didn't experience flooding like what has ravaged our neighbors. An additional initial damage assessment conducted by a drone team showed we may have nearly 100 to 150 homes that will need to be rebuilt. Most every other home and the businesses along Hendersonville Road sustained significant damage. During the storm, all 22 miles of town roads were cut off from access. Our public works crews, town volunteers, and several private companies have gotten us to the point where, as of last night, all roads are accessible for emergency crews. We have engaged a state-approved debris removal company with an initial estimate for vegetative debris of 100,000 cubic yards. To visualize that, imagine a football field covered with material to a depth of 56 feet. It's highly likely the final number will be greater than this. We hope to begin work next week on this process. Our water system will require repairs once water service is restored, and we're preparing now for that work that lies ahead. And finally, I cannot let this opportunity pass without publicly and profoundly thanking our team that works for the town of Biltmore Forest. They've been present from the start, many sleeping on floors and cots in the first few days, and performed their work to serve the town with persistence, character, and patience. Each employee has personal challenges and sufferings, but they've come together and worked so hard as a team for everyone. Quite simply, I'm so thankful for each of them and the strength they've shown. Just like others, our recovery will take time, but we are resilient and continue to move forward, making progress each day. Thank you.
Our next update will be from Lacey Hoyle, L-A-C-Y Hoyle, with an update on the response for unhoused people in Buncombe County.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our response for our unhoused neighbors really started prior to the storm even making landfall. The county and city and our community partners work together to activate our Code Purple system. Code Purple is our community's process for allowing for some additional emergency shelter capacity in times of extreme weather. So we activated that. And there was an incredible collaborative effort between city, county, and supportive service providers to quickly outreach to our unhoused citizens and try to get them to come to the Code Purple locations before the storm hit. I want to say a big thank you to one of our community partners, Asheville Buncombe Community Christian Ministry, or ABCCM. Their locations are our Code Purple locations this year. One of those locations is the Veterans Restoration Quarters, which is an emergency shelter and transitional housing spot for male veterans. And so there were folks who are normally sheltered there in transitional housing, as well as some folks who were there for Code Purple. That location did experience some flooding during the height of the storm. And so we quickly moved our unhoused individuals and our transitionally housed folks who wanted to evacuate to our county shelters as a result. And those folks are still there now. We're making sure that they're taken care of. I am more grateful than I can say to our county's community paramedics team, our co-responder team, and our city's community responders team, because those folks have consistently been out in the community throughout this situation, making sure that our unhoused population and other vulnerable community members are taken care of. They worked incredibly hard to find and transport folks to shelters prior to and during the storm. And they've been making regular rounds to our homeless service providers and our permanent supportive housing providers to offer support and resources to residents and staff at those locations. City and county homelessness support staff began making contact with service providers on Sunday once we had cell service or access to cell service again. And then on Monday, we made visits to shelters and service providers to check on them, identify needs, and to start to coordinate delivery of water and other resources as quickly as possible. I would say both the county and the city have stayed in contact with those providers throughout this week. We've continued to coordinate with them and with each other for ongoing support and for resources at these locations. This morning, city homeless strategy staff and I met with the service providers to come together just for a moment of community with each other. We haven't seen each other, most of us, and we're a pretty tight-knit group of folks working to support our unhoused population. So we came together to just support each other, to hear about how each organization has been responding to the crisis, and to learn more about how we can support them. We are going to continue to work diligently to ensure that they have access to needed supplies that they will provide to our unhoused neighbors and folks living in permanent supportive housing here in the county. We're also starting to help them problem solve for needs like water for flushing toilets, for fuel for their staff to continue to come to work, and probably most importantly for location of unhoused individuals who are still unaccounted for. And that's unhoused folks and also folks who are formerly homeless but were housed with some of our housing programs. And we're doing that in collaboration with the Register of Deeds office in hopes of not duplicating efforts to find folks. I got a list this morning from the Register of Deeds that was filtered specifically for folks that were reported as unhoused. We've been talking with providers today, and I actually got a call right before this press conference that at least some of those folks on that list are accounted for. So I'm really excited to get back up with the Register of Deeds folks to get that list updated. The plan for us right now as it pertains to homelessness is, of course, to continue to support in accessing water, food, and supplies. Once we get past the immediacy of the needs that we're currently addressing, we are anticipating that coordination for long-term access to resources and support and strategy around recovery efforts will be routed through our continuum of care. Right now, our priority is to support these service providers so that they can continue to provide essential services to our unhoused and our formerly unhoused neighbors. Thanks.
Thanks, Lacey. Next up, we will open it up to questions. I do want to reiterate the new One Buncombe call center phone number is 828-250-6100. And you can reach that call center 7 days a week. Again, that's 828-250-6100. That reporting for storm damage there is different than reporting for FEMA. So those two processes are separate. So if you're reporting storm damage to FEMA, you must still continue to do so. I want to acknowledge that City Manager Deborah Campbell is here, along with Assistant City Manager Ben Woody, should we have questions that relate to City of Asheville operations. And at this time, we will open it up to questions and answers. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Lucas Tomei with Carolina Public Press. I had a question about the City of Asheville water system. I'd like to know, are there any communities outside of Buncombe County that get water from Asheville's water system? And if so, are there any places where they're getting water rerouted now?
Hey, good afternoon, Ben Woody, Assistant City Manager. Most of Asheville's water system is in Buncombe County. However, there is a small portion of northern Henderson County that is serviced by our water system. And I'm not sure I understood the second part of your question.
Just want to know if there's any word on those folks in Henderson County that get their water from Asheville. Is it safe to assume that they are also out of water right now?
So important piece of information, our Mills River Water Treatment Plant, which services South Asheville, portions of southern Buncombe County, also services portions of southern Henderson County. Those areas are largely in water right now, so they should have water. Again, that water is non-potable.
It's Laura Lee from Blue Ridge Public Radio. We're getting a lot of questions about starting in cleanup and the safety or lack of safety in mud. Should people be wearing PPE? Are there environmental health concerns pertaining to that?
Yes, and we've submitted a yes, I hear your question. The response to that is that we have submitted a request through the State Emergency Operations Center to request support to identify and assess not just the soil, but also the water. As we've been sharing, the water contains a significant amount of debris. And even while we have blue sky days now, we should still stay away from the water until such an assessment is made that we can confirm that it is safe to be in the water and around the water.
What about mud in particular, though, if people are trying to dig out from mud?
It depends on, is it mud at the house or is it mud that is caused from the river? And so I would again urge an abundance of caution when you are interacting with areas that have been flooded by the river. As we know, there are a number of different types of debris that were swept up in that flooding. And so it's important to take an abundance of caution until we have the appropriate crews from the State Emergency Operations Center who can make that assessment and declaration.
This is Will Atwater with North Carolina Health News. Can you provide an update for, I know that in the earlier briefing, there was talk about the search for portable toilets for folks in Buncombe County. Can you give an update on that? And also, do you have an update on a source for non-potable water?
We have been making that request through the State Emergency Operations Center for portable toilets as well as portable showers, and look forward to providing that information soon. We also today were able to bring on tankers of non-potable water or non-potable water, however you prefer to say it. And the first tankers arrived at Estes Elementary today at that distribution location, and we will be bolstering that. As County Manager Pinder shared earlier in the 10 a.m. briefing, we've actually had more difficulty in securing non-potable water than we have had in potable water.
Thank you.
It's Laura from BPR. I have some questions for Lacey about the unhoused.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about, and I know it's difficult to have a census, and you do the annual count, but in terms of numbers of people who are unhoused, before the storm, at present, and what plans there are in the future for, I mean, I know some of these things have been in flux for a while, even before the storm, but can you tell us anything about the planning for where the unhoused may be housed in the future?
Um, well, as far as a census, I mean, at this point, we are pretty reliant on the point in time count, which you probably know happens in January. What I can tell you is that we know that those numbers still need some work. I don't really know that I have a census count for right before the storm. I do know that on the list that was sent to me this morning by the Register of Deeds, which is probably, it's not comprehensive, certainly. There were a little over 100 individuals listed as unhoused or unsheltered who were unaccounted for. I have not yet seen the list of folks that we know are accounted for. I just know that some of those folks on that list are accounted for. In terms of planning for sheltering folks, I think this week we've really been just intensely focused on making sure that providers had access to these urgent resources. And I'm hopeful that as we shift into our second week of response to this, that we'll be able to start working on some of those types of plans.
Are you getting help with any of that from FEMA or federal authorities?
Not at this time, but I don't think it's out of the question that we might consult with them or get some assistance from them in some way.
And how many people did you say were currently at the Code Purple shelter?
Well, the Code Purple shelter, so the Women's Code Purple shelter is out at Transformation Village. And there are around 80 women and children there right now. I am not sure how many men were in the Code Purple shelter before they were transferred over to our county shelters. And I don't know that I have accurate counts for how many folks are unhoused before the storm versus housed before the storm at those shelters now.
We have a question in the chat asking about clarification from this morning's press briefing, talking about not having an official tally of people who are missing or unaccounted for. And now Sheriff Quentin Miller shared that there are now 200 people. How do we get to that number and how are they considered missing?
That's a really good question and a point that I wanted to come and bring back up. So I'm glad the question was raised. We're getting the question a lot of what the number of unaccounted for individuals in our community is, as though there is a period at the end of that sentence, and it is a finite number. Our search and rescue is currently ongoing. We are now in our 8th day of search and rescue as it relates to this storm. I did see one of the leads of our search and rescue team walk in just as we were heading into this conference. So that makes this very difficult for us to be able to provide that finite number because it changes so quickly. The other thing that impacts that changes so rapidly is the work that our Register of Deeds is doing to knock on doors and talk to people. That's a communication gap that's not necessarily being unaccounted for. It's a communication gap that we are bridging that. And then the third piece, as Lacey was sharing, connecting with our unhoused neighbors, making sure that we are communicating with them, and those can be harder to reach. When our search and rescue crews have finalized their activities, we will be able to provide that finite number of how many people are unaccounted for as a result of this storm. But at this moment, any number that I provide to you now would not be accurate the second we walk out this door.
When you talk about finalizing the search and rescue, can you just walk us through what are the parameters? At what point do search and rescue teams say that they've done all that they can do?
So there are a number of households that we're trying to get to that have been impacted by landslides, bridges out, areas where streams have rerouted themselves. And so these are new hurdles that we have to get through to get to those individuals. Our search and rescue folks are using drones to search for people. They are using canines to search for people. And so once those crews have exhausted every resource that they have at their fingertips, that will be when the search and rescue concludes. And then if there is a number that is unaccounted for, we'll be able to share that at that time.
And I know North Carolina DOT is working on getting the road to Bee Tree. I'm wondering in terms of these road access issues, both with the water facilities, but also with people that may be stranded or may be isolated. Is there federal assistance on that front? I'm thinking military, dedication of military troops that could potentially traverse some of those areas. What does it look like in terms of assistance from the federal government and those both road building and search and rescue?
Yeah, we have requested assistance in that space. I will say 10 minutes before I walked into this press conference, I was able to see my husband who had just gotten out for the very first time. And so that neighborhood where I live in Swannanoa, Black Mountain, just now got access and those individuals are getting out. So we are seeing more clearing. We have made that request for federal assistance. If the city wants to give an update on the roads up to the water areas, I'm looking at Ben in case he wants to make an update on that. And while we are waiting for that full access to be regained, we are taking meals out into the community to deliver to those hard to reach individuals, whether that's through high water vehicles or whether that's through, there are even airdrops in some locations that are happening to make sure that people are receiving those life-saving, sustaining food and water that they need until such point we can get that road restored. And then I have assistants.
I'm just
sitting
wondering,
in who-
one quick follow-up before you go to that. When
Yep.
you say that you've made a request to federal authorities for assistance in those activities, can you tell us the timeline of, because we are on day 7 here, when that request was made and, how long it is taking the federal government to respond to that request? Where the decision stands on that?
Well, I don't know if you happen to see a picture that was posted to our social media this morning of our military help, our National Guard helping to collect materials, food and water. But that is happening now. So that there is not a delay in that support at this time.
Are they helping with road access and road construction?
I'm going to call on County Manager Pender.
Sure.
Hi, so I will tell you that we have a contract in place already through our state emergency operations, and they're helping with road clearance. So it's not the feds. The feds are helping to deliver the meals and helping us with the drops into those hard to reach places, but the road clearing is coming through our state emergency. And they're out there. I think my last count was about 20 or so different crews. They're deployed throughout the county. There's not one area that we prioritize over the other, and they're clearing throughout our county. So yes, DOT plus an additional layer of support clearing debris and roads. Ben, you wanted to say anything?
Yeah, just real quick to answer specifically. So for Bee Tree, we are working with our partners at NCDOT to open that road up. I'll note that Bee Tree is is a smaller waste or water treatment plant. So our real focus right now is to make repairs to the North Fork water treatment plant, and we have access to that plant, and we are making those repairs to distribution mains right now. Any other questions or follow-up for the city on that? Thank you.
My question that's follow-up is about water, still pertains to water, but it's one I've asked a couple of times. I'm just wondering if there's an update on mobile water distribution. We heard this morning that is happening to areas where, you have high concentrations of vulnerable individuals, but we're still getting a lot of communications asking, hey, I'm a person who can't get out to get water. How do I get water brought to me? Do we have an update there?
As we mentioned this morning, we are working with some nonprofits that will start doing that. We've got decals for their cars so that they can go to the pods and get water and start taking them out. That has been operationalized. I'm looking around the room to make sure that it started today. If not, that will start in the morning, but we have our nonprofits. We have the ability to start getting folks out into the community to take water. And they have identified locations where they need to go. So as I said to you this morning, if you're aware of places that we have, people are saying that they need to get water, please let us know. We can't know everything, but we're asking for your help as you are there hearing from them. So let us know if there's a location that we're missing and we can help to get water to them as well.
And is that something, if somebody's listening now and had that question, they would go to the One Buncombe line to make that request?
Yes. And they can also call the 828-250-6100. They can also call that number and they can get access to whatever else the resources they're looking for. So that's 828-250-6100, and let us know that they're in a place that they cannot get out and they're not on our list at this point.
And you said there's water, non-potable water for in some limited capacity at the Estes distribution site. When did that start, and will that kind of water also be at the other distribution sites in the near future?
Yes, it started about 1 o'clock today at Estes, and our plan would be to have it at all of our sites. We're trying to support water at the county sites as well as the city sites. I believe the city has about 4 sites. So, and we have 6 now, so about 10 sites across the county. We're trying to make sure we can supply water, but right now we had the 1 tanker, it went to Estes, and our goal would be to get it at every site. But we want to make sure we have a good source, and that's why it only went to 1 at this point.
Last question about water for the moment, but do we have any update on the water situation at Mission?
No update as far as I spoke with a Mission CEO yesterday and they had no needs. They told me that they had everything in hand as far as their water supply was coming regularly. They had a contract. So I'm not aware of any needs at Mission at the moment.
May I ask a question about debris cleanup?
Yes, sir.
This may be premature, but do you have a sense for when you will start with debris cleanup? And 2, do you anticipate having enough capacity with the local landfills, or will some of this debris have to be shipped away?
Great question. So first, we're still in the cut and clear process is what we call it, where we can cut the trees and clear roadways. We haven't started picking up debris removal yet. We are looking at sites where we can store that debris. We have a call tomorrow with some of our town managers to start. We've had pre-position where we think we can put debris before a storm comes, but with this magnitude, we have to expand that tremendously. So we'll be talking with our partners at our towns to see if there's any places in their community they're way off. So if you know of any large places that we can store some of this debris, you heard the debris that's coming out of Biltmore Forest earlier. So we would be looking for even more sites for debris to store the debris until we can chip it, mulch it, or we are also talking to air quality about burning some of this debris, because this debris is going to be around with us for a long time. But we're not at the stage of collecting debris yet. We really right now at the stage of still cutting and clearing and getting in. Then we'll come back and start collecting and storing that debris. As far as shipping it out, what we're talking about shipping out would be a construction and removal debris, not the trees and limbs. We do have to find a place for construction and demolition debris to go. We're looking for a place. We know of a couple of places close by that we can haul that to. We're working with them now about contracts and what that will look like.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions in the chat or online?
We had an additional question in the chat asking to clarify how our loss of life numbers are determined. Is that based on positive identifications? Is the number higher?
You got that? I don't.
With losses of life, we have a medical examiner who has been working, and then we've added 3 state medical examiners to support in that process. We have been confirming those losses of life, but I know we're getting a lot of questions around the names of those individuals. In many instances, we're still working to identify those individuals and their next of kin so that we can share that news with them. And so that process is more of an extended process for us to be able to do that due diligence due to how this storm hit and when it hit and the manners in which it arrived. So that is the process on it. Our state medical examiners are confirming those losses of life and then working with our law enforcement partners to make those connections with family. Okay. I believe that's all the questions we have. I want to reiterate one more time that phone number, the One Buncombe Call Center, 828-250-6100. My name is Lillian Govis. I'm the Director of Communications and Public Engagement. Our next briefing will take place tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. For the community, and we'll be live on Facebook and with all of our media partners again at that time. Thank you.